is quite small, about 120,000 people. We take over the city of Lincoln for a weekend. And SPG are playing again this year. Yeah, I'm flying them back over from LA, and they're going to play on a Sunday night. If anybody's not heard of Steam Powered Giraffe, get on YouTube. They're awesome. They are an amazing band. And a lot of their fans use face makeup as fanbots, robots, so we got one in the front. What is steampunk? Well, it's easy, really. It's whatever you want it to be. Unlike a traditional cosplay where you are trying to present a character, you're trying to be, in effect, somebody else's imagination and your take on that. In steampunk, there are no rules. Anything goes. We use a little bit of the past as a hook to hang it on, so Victorian style. And that means it's a genre that automatically leads itself to mashups. So I'll introduce my colleague here, who's a steampunk mashup on the Colonial Marines. It's dead easy, really. And I brought him because this is all homemade, apart from the plushie. And it's an easy example of how you can do cheap, sort of cosplay-style costumes for yourself without a lot of effort. Think about the Colonial Marines. They've got body armor. His is made out of leather. Okay, it's pretty cool. He's quite good at it. Instead of the M1 helmet that the Colonial Marines wears, he's got a pith helmet that instantly says Victorian, Explorer, Jungle Planet. It's all there. The camera. The Colonial Marines have a camera on. He's got an old-style camera mock-up on there. The gun, obviously it's a Nerf gun, just repainted. Be careful repainting guns, kiddies, or the law gets in the way, but there you go. However, we've got this crazy game, Steampunks and Zombies. What we do is we take over a location like, the National Space Center. So we've got real spaceships hanging over our heads and things, and we fill it with zombies. And then we get loads of people dressed in crazy costumes with Nerf guns, because everybody knows Zombie 101, a Nerf gun stuns zombies, doesn't it? Yeah, we all know that. A Nerf gun stuns a zombie for 10 to 15 seconds. You have to go around the museum fighting off the zombies, collecting clues. And if you can solve the puzzle to prove that you're still thinking, you can be allowed out of the museum. What's not to like? The trouble is, if a zombie touches you, you have to go to the medical center where you draw a counter. If it's a green counter, you're healthy. If it's a red counter, your face gets made up and you go back in as a zombie. It's a great game. It's crazy. It starts, you're being Mr. Cool, a zombie. Easy. Yeah, a few zombies. You want some of this? Easy. But you get this tipping point where suddenly there's more zombies than you've got bullets. And it gets really crazy at that point. So the next one of those we're running, we're taking over the Victorian town at Bliss Hill. So we're taking over the whole Victorian town, filling it with zombies and inflatable dinosaurs and other crazy rubbish and people in amazing Victorian outfits and doing craziness. So that's how you can do a homemade outfit. But you can get a bit fancy. This is a mashup on Star Wars. Obviously, it's an E11, only this is an E3. This was made by one of our colleagues, totally scratch-built in his kitchen, and the only tool he used was a Dremel. All made out of brass and found objects. That's pretty impressive to say it was all done with a Dremel, isn't it? And the guy's not even an artist or an engineer. He's a lawyer. He's terrible when he sees a car crash or somebody fall over. Let me through, I'm a lawyer. Yeah? He wants to sue everybody, but he's a nice guy, really. Or you can go down the costume line. Now, this was made by my wife. I'll let you into a secret. I am a professional props maker for television. I make props and build sets for TV. And my wife's a costume designer. It might give it away a bit. But she wanted to do a mashup on 70s style punk, but with a Victorian take on it. And then you've got all the classic leatherware that we use and stuff like that. Because as I say, there are no rules. You know, you got band style patches on the back, steampunk forever. Very punky, still Victorian, and tell me what screen from festival, and just have silly. But that's an introduction to steampunk. What about questions? You must have questions. Somebody fire a question or I'll talk at you. Guide dogs coming around the festival on that sort of topic for the disabled. If you're in a wheelchair, you've got the best option for steampunk going. I've seen some amazing steampunked up wheelchairs. And there's one girl who comes to the festival, and she's actually a double amputee, and she's in a wheelchair most of the time, but she's had special brass prosthetics made that she wears, so she's got like android prosthetic clockwork legs that she wears during the festival. So like I say, there are no rules, and in some times adversity can be a way to inspire you to come up with something really special. All right, so have you got a question?
What movies have your costumes been in?
Oh, that's cheating. That's a different topic altogether. I've worked on a few big movies such as, I don't know, my first big one was Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Troy, Gladiator, all that sort of thing. But that's not what you were here for. This is about steampunk, not me hitting Russell Crowe, you know.
What music is it at your steampunk?
Now, that's a great question, because there's no single sound. We've got steam-powered giraffe, and how do you describe steam-powered giraffe's music? It's great. It's amazing. It's a little bit Disney because it's very much a performance piece, but the lyrics are great. There's a lot of inclusivity in there. There's a lot of emotion. There are guitars mainly, but they play to a video screen and stuff like that. That's one side. So it's a little bit American folky. Then you've got the Men That Will Not Be Blamed for Nothing. They are hardcore punk and rock. But they do songs, if you imagine a real punk bouncy song, but about Charles Darwin. So it's like, Charlie, 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 Darwin, Darwin. And then it gets into swear words, but that's by the by. Sunday Driver. Sunday Driver are Anglo-Indian fusion. So the idea of Days of the Raj and stuff like that. And they've got tablas and sitars being played alongside saxophones and harps. And there's no way of describing it. And 2 asylums ago, we had Kuljit Brahman, who got one of the Oscars for Slumdog for the music. He guest starred with them on stage playing his tabla. Who else have we got? Mr. B, Chap Hop. Anybody like Mr. B? Professor Elemental, very much steampunk. They're both playing the Asylum this year. So the music is very eclectic. There's no single sound. And then you've got Thomas Truax. Thomas is an American artist. He's mad as a box of frogs, and he wouldn't mind me saying that because he's a mate of mine, and he makes all his own instruments. So he's got like a wheel with extendable aerials that plays on bells, and he extends it, and then he does a lot of double tracking, so experimental music as well. Any more questions? No? That's cool. So, where do you start? 1, go and look in your wardrobe. You will find clothes that you can make a steampunk outfit from. These trousers are, I'm being posh today, these are from Next. Primark, they do some amazing waistcoats. I've got a 3/4 length tweed frock coat from Primark that was 20 quid. Charity shops, hunt round charity shops. For the girls' stuff, this is using hitch and stitch. Loads of basically pinning straps on and getting a long skirt and bustling it up, and you can create a bustle skirt just by having tapes on the inside that hold everything up and pull it up. So costume-wise, 1, through your wardrobe, 2, charity shops, 3, go in the cheaper shops, and you can put an outfit together. The trick is to think of it not as costume, but think of it as clothes. Because if it's something you feel good in, rather than constantly having to adjust it and shift it, you can relax and you can have a good time. Props. Charity shops again. Car boot sales. There are lots of makers out there. We've got some good makers in the corner if you want to come and they will sell you stuff. But then you can make stuff like the gentleman at the back who self-builds all his gear there. You know, just by getting tubing, pipes, plumbing fittings, putting things together. Then use some of the sort of high-end cosplay techniques. EVA foam. When I first started doing, when I worked on Gladiator, a lot of the armor on that was real armor, but it wasn't working too well. So all the legionary armor we made out of plastic in the end because it worked better. And so techniques using polypropylene, sprayed polypropylene, and thermoplastics, which are now onto Warbler and that sort of thing. Polymorph. Anybody wants to come over, you can see a Star Wars Force Awakens helmet I made entirely out of polymorph. You know, the little plastic beads you drop in hot water and you can sculpt with. EVA foam. Get online, find Pepakura patterns to make breastplates and stuff like that, but tweak them. Use them as patterns to make pieces in EVA foam. Hit it with a heat gun, shape it, tweak it, and come up with stuff like this. Use leather. I'm one of these freaky vegetarian types. I don't like using leather if I can help it. I have to, unfortunately, for film work. But you can use plastics and cover it with fake leather. One of the best ways, I'm working at the moment on a big diving suit, which is all done in EVA foam with a plastic leather covering. So it's going to be like a big Bioshock-style diving suit and all look as though it's like armored leather, but just done with plastics. It's easy to play. The trick to making a costume work is Easter eggs and mashups. With this, the face hugger is what says it's Colonial Marine, isn't it? That's where you draw the hint that it's aliens inspired. Without that, you wouldn't get the Easter egg there of the camera. So using mashups and using stuff which is in, to use a psychologist's term, the frame of reference, the literacy of whatever you like, you can tweak it. So whatever your favorite fandom is, if you're I'm going to offend people now, if you're a Marvel fan, yay! It's dead easy to do mashups on the superheroes. You can even do it with DC. My granddaughter is 4, but when she was 3 last year at Birmingham, there was a little boy dressed as Batman, and he was crying. And my daughter said to her, "Why do you think he's crying, Autumn?" She says, "It's obvious, Mummy. He's DC. He wants to be Marvel." But you can mash up superheroes. I did a mashup a couple of shows ago of Ant-Man, and I made a complete Ant-Man outfit. And then the artist was a guest in Hanover and at MCM London. I hooked up with him in the bar, and the greatest compliment ever, he said, "You can be the official Steampunk Ant-Man." So I got the Marvel artist to say, who draws Ant-Man, to say, "You're so cool, you can be the official Steampunk Ant-Man." So anybody can be creative, anybody can have fun. If you need to know more, come over to the corner where we are in the Steampunk Emporium, ask lots of questions, but remember, 1, life's too short to be boring, and be nice to each other. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Yeah, it was good. Thank you.